Call the public hearing to order. And would we call roll?
Gerald Porter. Tim Leno.
And Mark Deach are present. We have a quorum present. Public notice. Want to confirm that, Ann?
The Dunn County Board of Adjustment has scheduled a public hearing for Monday, July 18th at 5:30 p.m. in room 54 at the Dunn County Community Services Building, 3001 US Highway 12 East in Menominee, Wisconsin. The applicant is Justin and Kayla Kessels, located at parcel ID number 1701-622-8130442-00002, lot 2, certified survey map number 3462, as recorded in volume 16 survey maps, page 82, as doc number 539393, located in the northwest 1/4 of the southeast 1/4, section 4, township 28 north, range 13 west, town of Menominee, Dunn County, Wisconsin. The address is East 4046 710th Avenue, Menominee, Wisconsin. The request is a special exception to construct a commercial kennel for boarding 4 or more dogs and or cats per section 13.2.8.077. This is the only opportunity to address the board regarding these requests. As such, interested persons who are invited to attend said hearing and be heard. Persons unable to attend the meeting may submit written comments via email. Persons needing assistance in accessing the meeting, please call 715-231-6505. Maps and supporting documents are on file and available for inspection at the Environmental Services Department, Planning and Zoning Division, or on the Dunn County's website. Notice was published on June 29th and July 6th, 2022 in the Star or in the Tribune Press Reporter, Colfax Messenger.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to read information on the public for the public in attendance of the role of the zoning board and the hearing procedures. The zoning board of adjustment / appeals functions like a court and must follow state laws and local zoning ordinances. The zoning board cannot change or ignore any part of the zoning ordinance or state laws, but must apply the laws as written. The zoning board may only grant a variance, special exception, or administrative appeal if the applicant provides evidence showing that they meet all of the legal standards that for that decision. The legal standards the zoning board will use to determine on each application have been provided to the applicant and will be described at this meeting by the zoning board or staff. Each hearing will be opened by reading the appeal or application or appeal. The zoning department report will be read, including evidence from the on-site inspection. The applicant will be sworn in and then present the reasons and evidence to support why they think they need the legal standards, meet the legal standards for the variance or special exception. The board may ask questions of the zoning board or zoning staff and applicant. Witnesses will be sworn in and allowed to give testimony related to why the legal standards are or are not met. Once the board has all the necessary facts, the chair will close the hearing and the board will deliberate and decide in front of the public whether the applicant has met the legal standards. The board will then proceed to the next hearing. Written decisions based on the evidence at the hearing and whether the zoning board finds that the applicant has met all legal standards. The evidence and deliberation of the board will be filed in the zoning office and mailed to the parties involved as soon as possible. Minutes of the board meetings and the decisions are available in the zoning office. A decision of the board may be appealed by commencing an action in the Dunn County Circuit Court within 30 days after the decision is filed in the zoning office. An applicant that starts construction before the 30-day appeal period assumes the risk of having the board's decision overturned. Okay, now next we have the minutes from the previous two hearings. Have you had time to read those? Look at them. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the May 16th and the June 20th meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'd second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes from the May 16th and the June 20th hearings. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We have public comment. I have a letter that's signed by multiple people, and I will read the letter and then state the name, the people that signed the letter. My name is Kayla Kessels, and I currently live and own our property at E4060 10th Avenue. If we haven't met yet, it says, dear neighbor. It starts with, if we haven't met yet, I'm a mother of 3 teenagers and have a whole lot of experience with dogs. The reason I'm writing you is because we're looking to create a low-key scenic area with upscale boarding for dogs, but I'm in need of support from the community before our county and town will approve my permit request. This location will be licensed and insured and have already acquired my LLC. The potential new building will be used for storage, but hopefully also boarding for dogs and cats. I have in the plans to include 3 small exercise yards for scheduled potty breaks during the day, but all dogs will be housed indoors in an insulated, temperature-controlled setting. We are hoping to start the process of building by late this fall if all goes well and is approved. If you're able to show your support or approval by either signing this letter below or writing a note, including your support, how you know us or concerns you have, I'd be happy to submit or touch bases with you. I've included a stamped envelope with our name return information. Thank you very much for help making this lifelong dream come true and allowing me to start my own business. Kayla Kessels. This one is signed by Nikki Bignell. Sarah Lynn Swiger. Karen Wolf. Donna Kramer. Dennis and Kim Hinsman. And Michelle Lam. Lullam. So its last name is spelled. Actually, she printed it here. It's Michelle Fullerton. Signature looks different than the printed. Okay, that's the public comments. So we will proceed with the hearing, and you want to present the special exception permit report.
I see that the town chair is here. Would he like to speak? Is that
Does he want to speak before this or? Well, if you would like to, I have to swear you in, of course. You solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. You'll have to come up and state your name and address, for the record.
Okay, I'm Frank Bammert. I'm town chairman, town of Menominee, in 4378 410th Street, Menominee. The applicant, pardon? B like in boy, Ammert. The applicants came to our plan commission, well prepared, and the plan commission approved. A 7-member plan commission approved her application, and then it went to the town board, and then we reviewed it. And the only things that we had concern about was the neighbors too close, but through her research and stuff, we found out they aren't too close. And we didn't object. The only thing that we asked both two things to be on it is that animals be housed in hours of darkness, that a time period we didn't put on it. So they're not out at night barking. And the other thing that we pointed out to her, that no vicious dogs that's banned from another community can come to that facility. The town of Menominee's ordinance does not allow that. So the town board then approved, and that's about it. We approved it. There's no objections on the plan commission or the town board. And so we don't object. With only those two conditions we'd like to see on there. Thank you.
Was it a unanimous decision from the board?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and you want to go forward then?
I can read the staff report. The Kessels are requesting a special exception to construct a commercial kennel for boarding 4 or more dogs and or cats per ordinance section 13.2.8.077. The applicants, Justin and Kayla Kessels, submitted their application on February 17th, 2022. Town of Menominee Planning Commission and the Town of Menominee reviewed and recommended approval of the application. The Kessels reside on the approximately 2-acre property at E4046 710th Avenue. They are proposing to construct the kennel facility and parking area in the northwest corner of the property. A zoning permit will be required from Dunn County prior to construction. The nearest residence is located north of the Kessels at East 3968 710th Avenue. The distance from the residential structure to the proposed kennel location is approximately 325 feet. The property itself and all surrounding properties are zoned general agriculture. Ms. Kessels has professional experience in the veterinary field and is currently employed as a foster coordinator at Coco's Heart Dog Rescue in Somerset, Wisconsin. She has more than a decade of experience working at veterinary offices and as a veterinary technician and receptionist. Definitions and supplemental information. Section 13.2.8.07 of the Dunn County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance allows certain uses of property to take place upon approval of the BOA, which otherwise would not be allowed under controlling zoning. The Kessels are requesting a special exception permit to operate a kennel/boarding facility. Commercial kennel is defined as a place where 4 or more dogs over the age of 4 months are boarded, bred, or offered for sale and conducted as a business. It should be noted that uses falling within a general definition are not automatically allowed. Approval for use must be obtained through an application review and hearing process. The Kessels have specified their request to use an accessory building for boarding dogs that owners drop off. They will have large, safe kennels for housing dogs or cats and will attach a 6-foot-high fenced-in exercise yard for scheduled letouts. Special exception permit applications are to be reviewed by the BOA and shall only be granted subject to a number of specified procedures and factors. No special exception permit may be allowed which violates the spirit or general intent of the Dunn County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. Additionally, a special exception permit is not to be granted if it would be contrary to the public health, safety, or general welfare, or would be substantially adverse to property values in the neighborhood. Finally, in determining whether to issue a special exception permit, the BOA is to consider a number of factors, including whether the desired use constitutes a nuisance by reason of noise, dust, smoke, odor, or similar factors, and is to consider the effect of the proposed use on the surrounding area and its compatibility with the area and the comprehensive plan existing for the property. Staff has suggested conditions below to address concerns regarding nuisance, public health, safety, sanitation, and the effect of the proposed use on the surrounding area. Members of the BOA have the ability to add, modify, or remove conditions as they deem appropriate. The applicant may also suggest conditions to further satisfy concerns. The requirements and conditions specified must be reasonable, practicable, and measurable. I'd like to ask the chair if you'd like me to continue with the findings of fact and conclusions, or if we'd like to revisit this.
I think, does the applicant want to speak before we go forward? Does anybody have questions? Not at this time, or I'll swear you in, and then that way, if there is questions, you can speak and it'll be part of the record. Could you please state your name and address, please?
Sorry, my name is Kayla Kessels, and it's E4046 710th Avenue.
You solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Do you have anything to speak to at this point?
I think a lot of it was addressed, even with Frank's input, but I want you to know that I have zero plans on homing dogs outside. And I'm very much involved with and volunteer time with rescues, helping with spay and neuter clinics. So at no point am I ever planning on this being a breeding location. It's strictly just going to be boarding for the public. And like I mentioned, I have a lot of experience with it. I've been asked to provide respite care for other boarding facilities with trainers that I know. So I think I know what I'm getting myself into. And it's not just that I love dogs. I know it's a lot of work, but it's also not going to be any larger than something I can just physically handle too. This is not meant to be, keep hearing the word commercial, but it's not going to be huge by any means. It's just a way for me to not have to get a 9-to-5 job once my youngest goes to high school. So, but that's about it.
Jerry, did you have any questions?
Yeah. Related to the restrictions, is it all right to ask that now?
You're talking about the
The
conditions?
recommendations, yeah.
Yeah, do you have some comment on that before she goes through them?
You can go through them first, that's fine.
Go ahead.
All right, so staff is recommending approval of the request based on the following findings of fact and conclusions of law. You can see that I've made some adjustments. They're shown on the screen in green, so I will start with those. The applicants are Justin and Kayla Kessels, East 4046 710th Avenue, Menominee, Wisconsin. The physical property address is East 4046 710th Avenue, Menominee, Wisconsin. The applicants are Justin and Kayla Kessels. They are owners of the property described as Lot 2, Certified Survey Map 34062, as recorded in Volume 16, Survey Maps, page 82, as doc number 539393, located in the northwest 1/4 of the southeast 1/4, Section 4, Township 28 North, Range 13 West, Town of Menominee, Dunn County, Wisconsin. The application was submitted on February 17th. The request specifies an intention to use a future accessory building for boarding dogs that owners drop off. The structure will include large safe kennels for housing dogs or cats and will attach a 6-foot-high fenced-in exercise yard for scheduled let-outs. A commercial kennel is defined by the Dunn County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance as a place where 4 or more dogs over the age of 4 months are boarded, bred, or offered for sale and conducted as a business. The Town of Menominee Planning Commission and Town of Menominee Board have recommended approval of the request. I removed number 7, which was that the applicant had received a commercial kennel permit from the Town of Menominee. That was just incorrect, and I didn't understand that. So based on staff findings, the request is consistent with the county's comprehensive plan. The proposal does not violate the spirit or general intent of the Dunn County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. The proposal is consistent with and can comply with standards within the Dunn County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. The proposal is not contrary to public health, safety, or general welfare and is not substantially adverse to property values in the neighborhood. The proposal will not be detrimental to ground or surface water quality, and the sanitation systems proposed will not hinder the prevention of disease, contamination, or unsanitary conditions. The proposed use will not cause nuisance by reason of noise, dust, smoke, odor, or similar factors. The proposed use as a dog, cat boarding facility can be compatible with the agricultural and residential nature of the area. The property is not within areas of floodplain. It is not within the Shoreland Overlay District. Therefore, it is the recommendation of staff that a special exception permit for a commercial kennel be issued to Justin and Kayla Kessels to use their property and proposed accessory building to operate a commercial dog and or cat boarding facility subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the owners of the property, which this special exception is issued, will abide by all representations and commitments made in their application, as well as before the Board of Adjustment and in accordance with all conditions to the special exception permit taken as a whole as approved by the Board of Adjustment. 2, activities associated with this use shall not create a nuisance to nearby residents by way of traffic, noise, or parking. 3, all animals shall be housed indoors from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. 4, an enclosed insulated shelter shall be constructed and made accessible to every dog or cat on the premises. The shelter shall be kept clean and free of vermin and shall be ventilated so that in times of hot weather, the building can be ventilated to allow movement of air. Number 5, a plan outlining waste removal and off-site disposal shall be submitted to the zoning administrator prior to commencing operation. Any wet waste shall be removed each day from the kennel area and shelter and shall be stored in a sealed container until it can be properly disposed of in accordance with health and sanitation regulations. This requirement is intended to address site odor, stormwater runoff contamination, and public health protection. 6, fence runs and enclosures shall be kept clean and in sanitary conditions, free of excrement, and shall be large enough to accommodate the number of dogs licensed for the premises. 7, the kennel structure shall be located more than 300 feet away from the nearest existing non-owner occupied residential structure. Sound dampening materials will be used in the construction of the kennel structure so that indoor animal noise cannot be heard beyond the owner's lot lines. 9, barking and other noises occurring outdoors shall be mitigated through the use of fences and/or landscaping. 10, all parking will be on site and will not occur on the roadway or within the road right-of-way. 11, outdoor lighting shall be provided only as necessary for security, safety, and traffic circulation and will be shielded and directed downward. 12, all uses approved pursuant to the special exception permit and all property utilized in connection with this use must comply with governing regulatory provisions without limitation and by way of example that includes public health, fire safety regulations, and building code provisions. 13, this permit is subject to the terms and conditions, and where such terms or conditions have been violated or not complied with, as an alternative or in addition to any other enforcement action, the zoning administrator shall petition the Board of Adjustment to hold a public hearing to determine whether the terms and conditions of the special exception have been violated or otherwise not complied with. If the Board of Adjustment determines that a condition or term has been violated or not complied with, then the Board of Adjustment may revoke or modify all or part of this special exception permit.
Okay, we'll have discussion. The chair of Town of Menominee would like to speak.
It's for the Board of Adjustment and zoning. Does this special exception with these conditions go to a new owner? Or something happens, they decide to move or whatever? How do we ensure that what's here goes with the new owner, or do they have to come back to the Board of Adjustments?
And you probably can address that. I think it stays with the property, right? And these conditions stay with too.
Yep, typically, a special exception stays with the property. It wouldn't transfer to a new property, mostly because each special exception is tailored to that unique situation. Any new owners would have to abide by all of the conditions as well.
Thank you.
And we did put in hours of operation, or from 9 PM to 6 AM, they would be housed inside. Does that meet the town's?
That meets our specifications. 6 AM may be a little early to let dogs that come out barking. People are still napping at that time. Maybe 7 would be more appropriate.
Does the applicant have a preference? Or
I think that if that's going to be a requirement, it's definitely something I can abide by. I know that I'm just thinking how often our own like foster dogs, need to go out. Generally, it's later or early, as early as 6, but 7 is fine too. if
what
that's
about
required.
6:30?
Sure.
Good compromise.
Well, we'll change that condition from 9 PM to 6:30 AM. Most people are up by 6:30 if they're going to work, unless they're retired. And sometimes those people are up even earlier than that.
Gotta get out of bed so your back would scratch.
The other, does that cover everything that you wanted us to cover, Tom, Chairman?
Yes, it does.
Is there any questions? Jerry, do you have a question yet?
Yeah, I do have a question. Looking at the property on Google Maps, there's a large house just to the north. Were they one of the folks that,
Yes, they were.
because they have some trees there on their line. You don't have any trees there.
Right.
Uh,
Right. So any sound dampening would be added after the building is built. And
that's my next question.
But they didn't have a problem with you doing it though.
correct. No, that's Karen Wolf who
Okay.
lives there.
Yep.
So, let's see. Kennel structure should be located more than 300 feet away from the nearest existing non-owner occupied residential structure. So that 300 feet is met from Karen's house?
Correct.
Okay. Number 8, I'm concerned about that one. That seems to be a pretty difficult thing for you to meet.
The control of noise.
Yeah, I mean, I have a nice house, and I think my neighbors can hear my dog bark when it barks inside.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond the owner's lot line, and I mean, your lot line isn't all that far from that building, is it?
No, it's not.
It's not.
So my goal is to not be a nuisance to any of my neighbors.
Agree, and what I'm looking for here is an effective yet reasonable proposal. And if your kennel structure is pretty close to the lot line and we say you can't have animal noise heard beyond your lot line, and Ann goes out there and you can hear the dogs barking at the lot line, you could lose your special exemption.
Right.
So you probably think that that segment of that 8 is maybe a little too harsh?
I mean, heard, cannot be heard. So our last board meeting, we talked about decibel levels.
Yeah, 70 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
I don't know if that, how else could you word that, animal noise, so that indoor animal noise cannot be heard beyond the owner's lot line.
what did, go ahead, Ann.
You got any ideas?
So I think you bring up a very good point. So one of the things that we had talked about with the last special exception and sound, I had called the sheriff and I said, hey, what's a reasonable volume at a property line? And he said, anything over 70 decibels, it's generally pretty reasonable. 50 was what we had suggested, which seemed too low in their eyes. One of the reasons I suggested it being at the lot line versus they had suggested that it be 300 feet away from the barn structure. It's difficult for a neighbor or county official to measure that decibel level on their property without disturbing an event or asking permission to be on the property. So generally, if it's at the property line, it's a little easier. We could remove this entirely. We could add a decibel level that could be measured at a property line. It's kind of up in the air what's reasonable.
What would be, we have 300 feet from the nearest existing non-owner occupied residential structure. Maybe number 8 said sound dampening material will be used through construction of the kennel structure so that indoor animal noise should not be a nuisance. Because that covers the insulation type, the dampening material. You know what I mean? And the mitigation then for noise would be the 300 feet.
Where you could get a reading.
Yeah, well,
So that you're not saying a reading, but
no, I'm just saying that would be the mitigation. If it's 300 feet away, that would be a mitigating force. A distance. In this case, I mean, it's unlikely that 4 dogs are gonna really be a problem.
I agree. I don't think it'll be a problem.
But I do think number 8, the sound dampening materials and stuff in the construction makes sense.
I agree in the sound, that's good. But indoor animal noise cannot be heard beyond the owner's lot line is too much.
It might be a little too restrictive.
Yes.
Might not be able to be met.
Correct.
So why don't we change that? I can't remember what I said, kennel structures.
300 feet.
No, it's already 300 feet's in number 7.
Okay.
Number 8 says sound dampening materials will be used in the construction of the kennel structure
Period.
so that the indoor animal noise should not be a nuisance.
That's probably a better way to go.
Okay.
It covers the muffling uh, of the sound.
So
Okay.
to confirm, number 8 is shown on the screen as sound dampening materials will be used in the construction of the kennel structure, period. We've removed the end of that sentence.
Yeah, we could probably just stop it there. Is that satisfactory to the town of Menominee?
Yes, it is.
Any other questions or concerns?
I have one regarding this, the sound. Is there, after you finish construction, is there any plan of putting little shrub, something like that in there, some lilacs or whatever? you know?
Absolutely, yeah. And I even thought of even something like a cypress that's gonna be kind of dampening all year long versus not
Okay.
in the winter time too,
right.
but yes, I think not only for noise, but for looks, and the less dogs can see through a fence, the less they may be apt to make noise.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to do that, yes.
All right, so that's really kind of in your plan at this
Mhm.
point. I don't think we need to put it in as a provision, so to speak, if that's what you're already thinking of doing.
Right, no, definitely.
Okay,
The only time that we would put it in as a condition is if there's a complaint.
Okay.
Then it might come back. Right?
So right now we have number 9, barking and other noises occurring outdoors shall be mitigated through the use of fences and or landscaping.
Yep, so
We
you-
could leave that or edit it.
I think we just leave it like it is.
Yeah.
You know, that's,
Fine with that.
don't you think?
yeah,
It's in there.
Any other questions or comments?
just a technical question that I have regarding dog waste. Is that going to be placed in your own septic system, or do you have a septic system?
So I'm very willing to upgrade any septic systems that I may, that's recommended for building such a large building onto the property, but my current plan is to dispose of through pickup, like waste pickup.
Oh, okay,
Only because that's the only other way I've seen, even into other in-town kennels, they have to dispose of, they're not flushing it down the toilet or anything,
Okay.
so.
all right,
Yeah, it generally will go in a dumpster, so I am planning on doing a dumpster pickup and having
Okay.
a site on property.
not a problem. I didn't know how that would impact a septic system. That's why I
It'd
asked.
probably be a lot.
Probably not well. Okay,
Any other?
Thank you.
Any other questions? There's none by the board. Any other comments by the applicant?
No.
Town of Menominee?
I don't know what type of fence, but a wooden fence will block a lot of noise versus just a fence.
Correct. I agree with that. The gauge wire fence I had in mind, I felt maybe could withstand more, because a wooden fence is hard to keep lower in the ground so that it's not being dug under. But I do know that would obviously help with sound, and I'd be willing to add those on the exterior, but no matter what, it would then be a double layer, because I'm pretty sure that the thicker gauge wire fencing I'm planning on using is something that I'm gonna need for security and keeping them
Wooden
inside.
fence facing your neighbors, that way the dogs can't see anything to bark.
Mhm.
To the east, you don't have any neighbors,
Right,
or to the west, excuse me.
right. I think the only houses we can see is on the north side of the
It was
property.
just a suggestion.
Okay. Definitely.
Any other comments? Any other discussion? And anything?
No,
Okay. We will close the hearing and have, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion and to extend the special exception, is that the right?
Yep.
Okay, with the in current recommendations from staff included in that motion. And I think there's 13.
Yep.
All 13 be added into that particular motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I think it's 14.
It's one scratched and it's
No.
6.
We've removed one, so now
It's
the
12.
total is
Oh, okay, yep.
14.
All right, I'll second that with the 14 listed.
Good catch.
Yes.
Is it no more discussion? There's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
Have fun with your pen.
And we will close the hearing and we can stop the recording.